My husband's work trip email exposed his secret double life. I was sitting at my kitchen table, sipping my morning coffee when I accidentally opened an email that wasn't meant for me. What I read in those few lines made my hands shake so badly that I dropped my phone onto the hardwood floor. My husband of 7 years, the man who kissed me goodbye every Monday morning for his business trips, wasn't going to corporate meetings at all. He had an entirely different life, a different home, and worst of all, a different family waiting for him 3 states away. That single email with an itinerary confirmation didn't just shatter my world, it revealed that I'd been living a lie every single day of my marriage. And honey, you won't believe what I did when I found out the truth. Let me back up and tell you how this nightmare began, because trust me, the details matter. My name is Sarah, and I thought I had the perfect marriage to my husband Derek. We met in college when I was studying architecture and he was finishing his business degree. He swept me off my feet with romantic gestures, surprise weekend trips, and promises of building a beautiful future together. After dating for 3 years, he proposed on a beach in Hawaii, and I said yes without a single hesitation. Our wedding was everything I'd ever dreamed of, surrounded by family and friends who all believed we were the perfect couple. The first few years of marriage were honestly wonderful, or at least, that's what I believed at the time. Derek landed a high-paying job as a regional sales manager for a tech company, which required him to travel frequently. Every Monday morning, he'd pack his sleek black suitcase, kiss me goodbye, and head off to what he called the weekly grind. He'd be gone until Thursday evening, sometimes Friday, and he'd come home exhausted, but always with stories about difficult clients and boring hotel conference rooms. I never questioned it because he was the breadwinner, and I was building my own architecture firm from the ground up. We seemed like a power couple, supporting each other's careers while maintaining a loving relationship. Looking back now, I can see all the red flags I stupidly ignored because I trusted him completely. He always paid for everything in cash when we were together, claiming he liked to keep his personal and business expenses separate. His phone was constantly password protected, but he said it was because of confidential work information. He never wanted to video call during his trips, always texting that he was in meetings or too tired. On weekends, when he was home, he was attentive and loving, planning date nights and spending quality time together. How could I have suspected that the man who held me every night was living an entirely separate existence 4 days a week? The day everything fell apart started like any other mundane morning in our routine lives together. Derek was rushing around the bedroom, throwing clothes into his suitcase, while I was getting ready for a client meeting. His phone was charging on the nightstand, and when it buzzed with a notification, I glanced at it without thinking. The screen showed an itinerary confirmation from a travel booking site, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Itinerary confirmation for Derek Morrison and family, round-trip flights to Orlando, family package at Disney World Resort. Family package? What family? Derek and I didn't have kids, and we definitely hadn't planned any trip to Disney World together recently. My heart started pounding as I picked up his phone, my fingers trembling as I tried to unlock it. Miraculously, or maybe he'd gotten careless after all these years, his fingerprint sensor accepted my thumb that I'd secretly registered years ago when he was sleeping, something I'd done playfully back when we had nothing to hide. I opened that email and felt my entire world crumble around me as I read the details. 2 adults and 2 children, ages 6 and 4, staying at a family suite for a week-long vacation. The booking name included a woman called Jennifer Morrison, and the billing address was in Cleveland, a city where Derek supposedly had his biggest client account. I scrolled through his emails frantically, my hands shaking so violently I could barely control the screen. What I discovered in the next 30 minutes of frantic searching destroyed everything I thought I knew about my life. Derek had an entire email account I never knew existed, linked to a different phone number and address. There were messages from Jennifer calling him honey and sweetheart, discussing parent-teacher conferences and soccer practice schedules. There were photos of 2 beautiful children who had Derek's exact smile and his distinctive green eyes. There were mortgage statements for a house in Cleveland, utility bills, even messages from Jennifer's mother thanking Derek for being such a wonderful son-in-law. My husband wasn't just having an affair, he was living a complete double life with a whole other wife and family. I sat there on our bedroom floor, surrounded by the lies that had built our entire marriage, scrolling through years of deception. According to the emails, Derek had married Jennifer 6 months before he married me, which meant our entire marriage was illegal and invalid. His business trips were actually him going home to his real family, while I was apparently just his weekend arrangement. The tech company job was real, but he'd manipulated his territory to cover both cities, spending Monday through Thursday in Cleveland with Jennifer and the kids, then coming to our home for long weekends. Every holiday he'd claimed to work through, every missed anniversary he'd blamed on urgent client meetings, every time he'd seemed distant and distracted, it all made horrifying sense now. The rage that built up inside me was unlike anything I'd ever experienced in my entire life. I wanted to scream, to throw things, to confront him right there and destroy everything in our bedroom. But then something shifted in my mind, and instead of exploding, I became eerily calm. Derek was still in the shower, humming some stupid tune, completely unaware that his carefully constructed double life was about to implode. I quickly forwarded all the incriminating emails to my own account, took screenshots of everything I could find, and then carefully placed his phone back exactly where it had been charging. When he came out of the bathroom, towel around his waist and that fake smile on his face, I smiled back sweetly and kissed him goodbye, just like I did every Monday morning. As soon as his car pulled out of the driveway, I went into full detective mode, like something out of a crime thriller. I contacted a private investigator that a friend had used during her own divorce, and within hours he was on the case. I hired a lawyer who specialized in fraud and bigamy cases, explaining the situation through tears of anger and betrayal. She assured me that what Derek had done wasn't just morally reprehensible, it was actually criminal, and we could pursue charges beyond just a simple divorce. I spent that entire week gathering evidence, having Derek followed by the private investigator, documenting every lie and every moment he spent with his other family. The investigator sent me photos of Derek picking up his kids from school, kissing Jennifer on their front porch, playing happy family in a home I never knew existed. But I didn't just want Derek to face legal consequences. I wanted him to feel the same betrayal and humiliation that was eating me alive. I wanted revenge that would expose him to everyone who thought he was such an upstanding guy and devoted husband. So I started planning something that would hit him where it hurt most: his reputation, his finances, and both of his fraudulent relationships. My lawyer advised me to be careful not to do anything illegal myself, so everything I planned was perfectly within my rights as a betrayed spouse. I pulled together all our financial records and discovered that Derek had been funneling money from our joint accounts to support his other family, essentially making me pay for his double life without my knowledge. Thursday evening came around, and Derek walked through our door right on schedule, exhausted expression in place and arms open for a hug. I played along perfectly, smiling and asking about his week, listening to his elaborate lies about client meetings and hotel problems. We had dinner together, watched a movie, and went to bed like nothing was wrong. Friday morning, I told him I had a surprise planned for the weekend, something special to celebrate us. He seemed genuinely touched, probably feeling guilty about his secret life, and agreed enthusiastically. I told him we'd be having a little gathering on Saturday evening, just some close friends and family, and he should make sure he's available. He promised he would be there, kissing my forehead like the manipulative liar he was. What Derek didn't know was that I'd sent an invitation to Jennifer as well, along with a very interesting message. I'd contacted her through social media, pretending to be someone from Derek's company, saying there was a special recognition event for top employees and their families. I even created a fake company letterhead and official-looking invitation. Jennifer responded enthusiastically, saying she and the kids would love to come celebrate Derek's success. I gave her our home address, telling her it was at the regional director's house for a more intimate celebration. Everything was falling into place for the most explosive confrontation either of these women could have ever imagined. Saturday afternoon, I prepared our house not for a celebration, but for a reckoning that would change everything. I set up cameras in the living room, making sure every angle was covered for legal documentation purposes. My lawyer was on standby, and I'd invited my parents, my brother, and a few close friends who I'd finally told about the situation. They arrived early, shocked and angry on my behalf, ready to support me through whatever was about to happen. I'd also invited Derek's parents, telling them simply that there was something important about their son they needed to see. They came confused but trusting, having no idea their golden boy had been living a double life. Derek came home around 5 in the evening, happy and relaxed, asking what he could do to help set up. I told him to just relax, that everything was handled, and poured him a drink. Around 6 p.m., Jennifer's car pulled into our driveway, and I watched Derek's face through the window as she got out with 2 children. The confusion on his face was almost comical as he turned to me asking who these people were. I smiled sweetly and said, "Why don't you tell me, Derek? Or should I say, why don't you tell everyone here exactly who Jennifer Morrison is?" The color drained from his face as Jennifer walked up to our front door, kids in tow, looking confused about why Derek's car was parked in this driveway. I opened the door before Derek could move, greeting Jennifer warmly and inviting her and the children inside. She looked around confused, asking if this was the regional director's house, and I smiled, saying, "No, this is actually Derek's other house, the one with his other wife." The look of complete shock and horror on her face mirrored what I'd felt just days earlier. Derek stood frozen in the middle of our living room, surrounded by both families, both wives, his children, his parents, and all the people he'd lied to for years. His mouth opened and closed like a fish, but no words came out as the full weight of his exposed double life crashed down on him. Jennifer started crying immediately, her hands shaking as she tried to process what was happening right before her eyes. Her kids clung to her legs, scared by their mother's tears and the strange tension filling the room. Derek's mother gasped and grabbed her husband's arm for support, refusing to believe what she was seeing and hearing. My own mother put her arm around me, her face filled with pride at my strength, despite her anger at Derek. Derek finally found his voice, stuttering out pathetic excuses and lies, trying to claim it was all a misunderstanding. But I cut him off, playing the audio recordings the private investigator had captured of him with Jennifer, discussing their anniversary and making plans for their future together. The room erupted into chaos as both families tried to process the elaborate deception that had lasted for years. Jennifer screamed at Derek, demanding to know how he could do this to her and their children. Derek's father, a stern military man, looked at his son with pure disgust and disappointment. My brother had to be physically restrained from punching Derek, his fists clenched and face red with rage. Derek tried to approach me, reaching out with those lying hands, begging me to let him explain privately. I stepped back and told him there was nothing private about this anymore, that everyone deserved to know the truth about the man they thought they knew. My lawyer stepped forward then, serving Derek with multiple legal documents right there in front of everyone watching this unfold. Divorce papers, fraud charges, and a criminal complaint for bigamy, which is actually illegal in our state. Derek's face went from red to white as he realized the full legal implications of what he'd done. I announced to everyone in the room that I was pressing full charges, that I would be seeking restitution for all the money he'd stolen from our joint accounts to fund his double life. Jennifer, through her tears, said she would be doing the same, that she'd trusted him completely and he'd made a fool of her. We stood there, 2 betrayed women united by the same lying man, while he crumbled under the weight of his exposed lies. Derek tried one last desperate move, falling to his knees and begging for forgiveness from both of us simultaneously. He claimed he loved us both, that he'd gotten trapped in the situation and didn't know how to get out of it. He said he'd made terrible mistakes, but we could work through this if we just gave him a chance. Jennifer told him to never contact her again, that she'd be filing for divorce immediately and seeking full custody of their children. I echoed her sentiments, adding that he'd be hearing from my lawyer about the criminal charges. His parents left without even saying goodbye to him, his mother crying and his father refusing to even look at his son. The aftermath of that confrontation was both satisfying and surreal as the dust settled on Derek's destroyed double life. Derek moved out that night, sleeping in his car because neither wife would have him and his parents refused to help. Within a week, he was fired from his job when HR discovered he'd been falsifying expense reports and location data for years. The criminal charges moved forward, and Derek ended up pleading guilty to fraud and bigamy, receiving probation, community service, and a substantial fine. Both Jennifer and I divorced him, and in the settlement, we each received significant portions of his assets and retirement accounts. He lost everything he'd built, all because of his selfish lies and betrayal. Jennifer and I actually became friends through this bizarre situation, bonding over our shared experience with the same terrible man. We supported each other through the legal proceedings, the therapy sessions, and the difficult process of rebuilding our lives. Her kids sometimes ask about their dad, and she tells them age-appropriate truths about how he made bad choices. My architecture firm actually thrived after the divorce, maybe because I channeled all my anger and energy into my work. I'm dating again now, someone honest and transparent who thinks Derek is the biggest idiot alive for losing me. Jennifer is also moving forward, focusing on her children and her own career as a teacher. As for Derek, last I heard he's living in a tiny apartment, working retail, and paying off his legal fees and restitution to both of us. His reputation is completely destroyed in both cities, and everyone who knew him now knows exactly what kind of man he really is. He tried to contact me a few months after everything happened, sending a long email apologizing and asking if we could ever talk again. I deleted it without responding because I have absolutely nothing to say to the man who wasted 7 years of my life. The best revenge wasn't just exposing him, it was moving forward and building a better life without him weighing me down with lies. Looking back now, I'm almost grateful for that accidental email that revealed the truth about my marriage and my husband's betrayal. Yes, it was devastating and painful, and there were nights I cried myself to sleep over the death of the life I thought I had. But living in ignorance would have been so much worse, wasting more years on a man who saw me as convenient rather than cherished. I learned that I'm stronger than I ever knew, capable of handling the worst betrayal and coming out the other side. I learned to trust my instincts, to pay attention to red flags, and to never settle for anything less than complete honesty. Most importantly, I learned that the best revenge isn't just exposing someone's lies, it's rebuilding your life into something so amazing that they realize exactly what they lost when they betrayed you forever.